Hello, happy people. Hope all is well and everyone is staying safe. Welcome to another video. Today's video, we're going to be doing a walkthrough and DAW cast of my newest single. And that single is entitled Something to Remember Me By. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for being here, stopping by, checking things out. My name is Roland Owen. I am a composer for media and film and things of that nature. So I love working on orchestral, hybrid orchestral, ambient scenes, things like that. Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, then by all means stick around, check out this video, check out the rest of the channel. If you really like it, then subscribe. You know, most of my videos are pretty straightforward, unedited, just because I like the rawness of it all. So if you can deal with that kind of thing, then yeah, we can get along. So my newest single, super excited about it. I actually didn't realize that I was going to be doing it. So it was kind of spur of the moment. I was in a composing exercise moment, and I was just like, you know what? I actually like what this is doing, and I'm gonna drop it. So here it is. Is it the best marketing plan? No, not at all. But at the end of the day, I am recalibrating myself and taking you guys along the journey with me as I'm writing, as I am coming into different business prospects. Of course, I'm keeping my mouth shut on things that I can't talk about, but yeah, if you're here and you want to ride with me on this journey, then by all means, let's ride together and let's have some fun. Okay. It is out. The single. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. It's on Amazon. It's wherever you listen to your music. It's on my YouTube page. It's on my Instagram. It's all over the place. So by all means, please check it out. It's a short piece. We're going to listen to it here in this session. I will say that the way that I am casting this right now, I actually don't know what the audio quality is going to render like. So if you want the full quality of what the piece can offer, then please, by all means, go to either my YouTube channel and click the link, or go to Spotify, Apple Music, and it'll be there in high definition for you. All right, let us jump into Les DAW. Les DAW. Boom. Okay, cool. So anybody that's watched my channel before, you know that I am a Cubase user. I love Cubase. I made the switch a little while ago, and I love it for orchestral, hybrid orchestral, trailer music, ambient stuff. I love using it. Okay. So this is mostly orchestral. It does have some hybrid elements in it, but it is mostly orchestral. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play through the song. I'm going to talk about some things that I was feeling and different techniques and stuff that I was using as I was writing the song, go through the different sections. And then, yeah, as things come up, I'll talk about them. All right. Fair warning. You will be listening to the audio and not the Midi, just so that my system doesn't freak out. So there's that. But before I go over, before we play through, I just wanted to highlight some of the sections. We do have like orchestral sketching sections that were used in the final take. We have some solo instruments, woodwinds, brass, percussion, orchestral percussion, ethnic, drum kit elements, tuned percussion. Did I use keys? No, I did not use keys for this one. So there's that. I normally use keys for like celeste and like organ type stuff. And I would normally use something like that, but I didn't for this one. Strings is a must. So full string section there. Choir. We have choirs here. From Audio Imperia. Most of this orchestra is Audio Imperia Nucleus. So if you know anything about Nucleus, or if you are a composer yourself and you're into that, then Audio Imperia, you did us all a favor on that one. Okay. And then there's some stuff that I actually recorded in on bass, and we'll talk about some of that stuff later. All right, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut here for a second and let you guys listen to the piece in full, and then we'll talk about it. All right, cool. Muting my mic. Hey. And that's the song. Like I said, I'm really happy with this one. I'm happy with the way it turned out. So let's talk about it just a little bit. You can hear that it's one of the main features was choir, and so it didn't necessarily start off that way. I just had a simple motif, the ba da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Right, and that was just repeating in my head. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we got to write it if it's in my head and it's stuck there. So yes, you can definitely hear some familiar elements if you're into like scores, or if you're into like movies or anything like that. There's definitely some elements there that are familiar to us, and I'm a firm believer that things that get stuck generally are things that are either brand new and phenomenal or things that are familiar. And in this case, I stuck with the familiar side. So if we're looking into some specific things here, let me just go into, actually let's go into choir since they were the main feature. All right, boom. Oh, where'd it go? Okay, it's over here. So here, just a simple pedal tone, right? Where is it? Oh, duh. Because I have that. Let's now mute the actual audio track so we can get the MIDI. Bop. And bop. Okay, cool. Just that one note. You know, I think it brought a gentleness to this solo bassoon, and I'll solo this line here. This is from the library solo by Audio Imperia. So if you know those guys and you're in tune and you're looking for really good solo libraries, they're actually pretty good. They're affordable and it's lightweight on your system. So I totally recommend them. I'm not sponsored by them. I bought this stuff with my own money. So go figure. All right. Here's that bassoon solo line here. Boom. Pull it back just a hair. I loved writing that one line. You'll never hear it again in the entire piece, but it's that one line. Very, very John Williamsy, you know, especially that. Let me see. Can I get into it? Okay, my keyboard doesn't want me to be great today, and that's okay. I have some piano stuff. Right, so getting into those odd intervals that are within the key, but outside of its normal balance of tones, if you will. So that one was fun. So right after that, you get into the main, the meat of it all. So that's the whole thing. that whole motif there. Well, actually, it's more than a motif. That's a motif. Just use that over and over and over again. Like I said, it just kept replaying. I was like, oh, get out of my head. I like you, but get out of my head. So that's why it's out now. So everything else is just support behind it, right? So if you go into the strings here, strings aren't doing a whole lot in this section at all. Where are you? How's wham. Okay, there we go. Okay, again, you don't want me to be great. Okay, let's just look at the right screen. There we go. So strings aren't doing a whole lot at all. I'll just solo these guys real quick. And so you can hear that they're just really just backing up what the choir's doing. So they are there more so for sound palette and not even textural support. They're just there to kind of push it forward. So like if you're thinking about a actual orchestra performance, right? Your choir is going to be sitting behind your orchestra and your strings are going to be up front. But if that's your main motif, you still need to bring it out so that it can travel well enough. Like the voice it's only got so much distance of travel before you're like, what are they talking about, right? Which is why they sit over top of the orchestra, so that they can all of that stuff can just fly over top of the orchestra, because the orchestra has all that power, right? And it has reservations, don't get me wrong, but the point is that the strings are there to kind of just to support what's already happening. Now I may or may not get in trouble for this. Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna get in trouble, but it's extremely well known. The brass and the woodwinds, so they are playing against each other, meaning that they are doing some mimicking the ba da 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 da, and that's all they're doing, right? Yeah, so it's almost like a they're playing over top of each other, almost like a wave. Ba da 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 ba da 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 da. Right, except there's only 3 iterations and not 4 of what I just did. Right, so going alongside the main phrase, they are adding the texture. They are adding the contrapuntal elements and texture at the same time, which, if I'm being honest, I've actually never really written anything like that. And so when it came out, I was like, oh, that was kind of nice. Maybe I can do it again one day. I don't know. We'll see what fate allows. Now, if you know anything about film music, you kind of know the familiarity with that particular line. I won't mention it, but if you know, you know, and if you don't know, then you don't know, and I'm okay with that. So moving on, there's a small breathable section here. Okay, so in that particular section, we just have brass and strings, and you can see what I did. This was 2-handed phrase, though I was still considering things like the harmonic series, and I was thinking about placement and who would cover melody, where it would sit in the frequency span, like all of those things. I was thinking about those things while I was playing it. But there is a lot of support in this piece. So other sections are simply supporting main sections. So strings were highlighted in this particular one, but brass are offering some pads behind it, which can be extremely powerful and completely underused in today's musical world. I don't know why, but it is what it is. I'm going to solo the brass. Okay, and then I'm going to solo the strings just so you can hear the difference in voice type. Okay, so strings are cool. Don't get me wrong, and I think they're vital to symphonic or orchestral pieces. But in this case, the strings alone was a little too luscious. It didn't have anything to communicate some of the thoughts that I was thinking, and I'll offer those in a minute. But the brass alone was way too militant. It was just like, oh, here we are. You know, something tragic has happened, and obviously something tragic has happened in this piece. Something tragic and dramatic has happened. We don't know the full story because someone hasn't written it yet, and they haven't told me to write the rest of the score for it. So if you're out there and you want to finish the story and tell me to write the music, then by all means, I'm ready to do that. Selfish plug. But the brass it has a bite to it. It's just like a grittiness to it that I think supports the strings very well, so that it doesn't feel like a lullaby moment, but it still keeps you in the emotion of the thing. You know, like you hear this moment, or at least for me, it's like, oh man, I can't believe that this actually happened. Look at all the things that have been destroyed. Look at all the things that have been altered because of a singular movement, because of a single action. And so I was like, the strings need some help. And so I didn't even bother to change the MIDI data information. I just said, oh, that worked for the strings. Let's just copy them over to the brass and see what happens. And it worked. So see, you take the brass out, it's just too lush. You take the strings out, it loses the smoothness that comes with it. Okay, and so then we go to the final section here. Okay, and yeah, I cheated. Okay, now I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I worked it out before I actually did it, but I sure did use that transpose. Now, what I ended up doing, instead of using this entire global transpose, I went into each instrument group and altered the transpositions there. So it's the same MIDI data, but it is in fact a transposition. And let me speak to it. Some people might look at it and go, oh no, you cheated. You didn't actually write it out. It would have been better because now you're forcing your samples to do something that they're not really supposed to do. You should have actually played it out. It would have been smoother. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But I'm not sending this, at least I don't think, sending this to an orchestrator. And the tools are there to make your work go smoother and faster so that you can spend more time creating. And so I am a fan of tools like that. I'm like, oh, I want to do a modulation here. I want to go up 3 semitones from the place I was before. You know what? Let me just scoot them over to the section I want them to start at and bump them up 3 points, and then the work is done. I'm like, hey, you would use the same type of shortcuts in an Excel spreadsheet, or, you know, type into AI to build your prompt. I don't see the difference here if it creates, if it communicates what needs to happen within the piece, and there is an obvious connection with your audience. Anyway, that was a soapbox, but before anyone blows me up, those are my thoughts. But just to go through it, it is exactly the same thing. It's a restatement. So it's very much ABA form. So, in case it's not obvious, this last section that has nothing but percussion is my absolute favorite section in this entire song. I was listening to some videos by Mike Verda. Some people know him, some people don't. He is a phenomenal, brilliant man. A bit controversial, but aren't we all? Anyway, he's written movies, he's done scores for people, he does reviews for people. Go check him out. His master classes they're really good. You have to sift through some of the material to get the golden nuggets, but he talks some really good stuff. All right. He was encouraging composers to prolong using the big drum. You know, you have all of these elements. You've got your brass section, you got your string section, you got all these elements that are working together to make a thing happen. And use your basses, you know, have that weight there. Yes, use them, you know, but that bass drum is something different. You've got timpani, you know, oh, you need some gravitas, get that, you know, and people will feel it. That bass drum is different. It's an impact. It hits you in your chest, you know, or at least that's the hope. That's the attempt to hit you in your chest. You feel it. Boom. Da, 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 da. And I wanted to use it for each section, and I did. But towards the end, it's just the boys. No offense to girls at all. But and again, anybody that is familiar with composers, familiar with film world, you know, writing, things like that, we know that section of the buses is not new. But again, aiming for familiarity in this particular one. Yeah, that is by far my absolute favorite section. Not necessarily because it was percussion, but more so because the gravity of the situation, I believe, was confirmed by the percussion. You know, like if you look at the album art, you see all of this, you know, things are blowing up. You've got these massive ships or whatnot, and the title is something to remember me by. So the idea, the story arc, if you will, there's some rogue general that has taken command of a fleet, and he is like buddies with the current commander. They go head to head, they have a disagreement, and so he's like, hey, I'm still in control of your armies, so you know what, they're going to follow me, not you. And so he decides to abuse his powers and declare himself enemy of the state, if you will. That's pretty much the story arc here. But the percussion in this last section are showing you that the people that are witnessing his horrid act, or her horrid act, whatever, that it feels like there's no coming back from this, which I think is pivotal, especially if this were in a movie. You're like, if you're doing to a cutscene and you know, you're looking at it all like, oh snap, he actually did that. Oh snap, we actually survived that. Oh snap, there's a lot of people that lost a lot of things after you do that. And I don't know, for me, it's just like, yeah. And I won't go into a different soapbox. I could, but I'll save that for another time. But I've thoroughly enjoyed. This is my absolute favorite section right here out of anything. Like, some people go, oh, what about the See, the beginning is deceptive. And I did that intentionally. Like, you don't know what you're about to get. You could get something, uplifting after the bassoon. You could get something mysterious after the bassoon. You really don't know what you're going to get, and it doesn't really suggest. It doesn't suggest anything. It just says, "Hey, get ready," and you're sitting on the edge of your seat, and you don't know what's happening. And then you hear it, you're like, "Oh, whoa, this is actually kind of heavy." And I love that. I love sneaking up on people and be like, "Yep, you thought it was, but guess what? Bombs are dropping out of the air," and it's weird. Anyway, so yeah, that's the piece. That's the piece. I don't know if anyone actually is interested, but I'll show it anyway. This is all of my MIDI stuff. You know, orchestra. It's in orchestral order. I use expression maps. For anybody that knows about that, as always, if you have questions, or if you're like, "Hey, Kay, can you go back and talk about this one section because I didn't get it, or could you explain it more?" Then I'm more than happy to. Just put it in the comments and I'll be there. But just to kind of look at my routing page here, it is fairly straightforward. It looks just like what's on the other side. Just to kind of comb through it, here are my sketching stuff, my orchestral sketching stuff, solo, woodwind, then it follows score order, right? I didn't activate any elaborate sound design stuff in this thing. Excuse me. Oh, I forgot to talk about this. This was audio. Let me switch back. So if anyone has a really good ear, and it's probably obvious, maybe it is obvious, you don't have to have a great ear. You just have to be able to listen. The lower tones, let me switch back. The lower tones in the B section, or A repeated section, was in fact recorded by a bass. And it's not a sub. Right? And you're like, "Man, that waveform is so tiny. Why didn't you have better gain staging?" And it doesn't matter. You got the point, right? You understood it. Yeah, I didn't even label it. Did some soft editing here, but it wasn't anything that, yeah, because I just wanted to sit there, you know. But playing the bass was actually extremely fun, simply because, I mean, I probably shouldn't communicate this, but the bass itself was out of tune. It was perfectly out of tune on each string. So I had to shift my fingering around, which worked out in my favor, I think, because it allowed my finger positionings to be a bit more fluid. And so it added some movement to the thing, which I think worked out in the end. I did end up side chaining it to the big percussion hit, just so that it wouldn't completely get in the way. But yeah, after that, my routing is pretty straightforward. All right. So that's it. That is the piece. Yeah. Again, really, really excited that this one kind of came out quickly. It doesn't always come out quickly. Sometimes I have to sit with it, and I think that's okay. Sometimes you really need to sit with a thing. You need to massage it. You need to know what it is, discover it. So, all right. Well, thanks, guys, for sitting with this one, sitting with me. Again, if you like this kind of thing and you're into it, let me know. And the way you let me know is just by hitting that thumbs up. If you are into this type of stuff, I do walkthroughs. We'll do reviews of certain libraries, stuff like that. Then consider subscribing. We might have something for you that you really enjoy. And my goal here on this channel is, again, to have you walk with me on this particular journey, whatever, wherever it takes me. And then two, to be able to help people who are still trying to figure things out in this particular world, and just to offer my thoughts to anyone who's a general listener. All right. So that's it for me. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.